Alrighty, guys, we're going to give this a whirl on a hotspot. This is not going to be fun. So if the video quality is bad, that's why. So we'll see what we can do. So I'm going to give everyone a couple seconds to get connected. The delay between when I say something and when I respond to your questions and things might be a little more intense than normal because I've dropped all the settings way down trying to slow the frame rates down so that we can get a decent connection over a cell phone, basically. But I'm streaming to you over a cell phone right now. There's obviously something going on. And during the show, I was trying different settings to kind of diagnose what was happening. And it looks like somebody probably needs to boot the cable modem. That's literally all it is, I think. But if, and I could certainly go back there, and I'm totally capable of pulling the power plug, counting to 10, and plugging it back in. But when there's dead air on a radio station, an alarm sounds. It's like a beep, 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 beep. And I know what would happen is I'd pull that out, and as I'm counting to 10, things would start beeping. And because I don't know what's interdependent on the internet connection. Something could go very wrong if Thor starts monkeying. And if the computer guy gets caught red-handed in the server room in the middle of a giant radio station outage, I don't think I'm going to have much deniability there. So we want to make sure that that we get going. So first of all, I noticed that some of you were frustrated on the Facebook feed that you were missing things because the internet connection was interrupted. Unfortunately, the video that we use for the Schrock pages is the video from Facebook, so that's going to be interrupted too. So if there was anything from the show that you missed, that you felt was important, you needed to hear about, like the HP printer thing, anything like that, ask it in the comments, and I'll try to answer it for you now on a more stable, hopefully, internet connection. I'm watching my frame rate, my frame drop rate, just make sure we're good to go here. Hello, Ronald. Hi, Aaron. Talk about the internet problem this week. Hack. The internet, it's only a matter of time, guys, till the internet gets hacked and completely knocked offline. The DNS system was great for the 1990s, but for today's modern internet, number one, it provides a central point of failure where governments can actually block the internet or kill the internet. The internet kill switch is a real thing. As we've seen in countries, Venezuela, Cuba, North Korea. Well, I guess it really have North Korea's internet, not an internet thing there. Well, China for sure, So we see that happen from time to time. So anyway, the internet reliability and the amount we rely on the internet for communication is just intense. If the internet goes down, you're back in 1980, guys, without a phone book and no quarter in your kangaroo pouch on the side of your sneaker to use the payphone. It's rough, right? You take the internet away from the modern society. I mean, there are some people I saw something online about somewhere they were trying to decide if food. I think it was California, Oregon, someplace like that. If food was a right, if you had a right to food, who's going to argue you don't have a right to food because you have to survive, right? On the other hand, having a right to food implies you have a right to the production of somebody else, right? You didn't make the food. Somebody else made the food. Somebody else made the food and invested their time and resources and energy into making that food for themselves, their family, or to sell their excess to other family members or other friends or other customers. And so when you say I have a right to food, that implies I have a right to somebody else's production, which I'm very hesitant to jump on board with that. Because if you have a right to somebody else's production for food, don't you have a right to somebody else's production for energy or for gasoline or for a cell phone or for internet? Don't you have a right to internet? Why do you have to pay for that? You have a right to that. And so there's a lot of things that, I don't know, in my opinion, and I was reminded this week in a comment from somebody, said she used to love to listen to the show, but I've been on my political soapbox so much lately that it's becoming impossible to listen. And, I took that to heart because there are times to be political about things. There's times when there's just right and wrong. It's not being political, but I see it as right and wrong. And this is one of those times. Whereas, for example, we had a story last week, does the Biden administration want to listen to your text messages? Well, the answer to that is no, they don't. And the story was clickbait for the far right, whereas the DNC is watching text messages, but they're just watching the text messages that are broadcasted primarily by political organizations. So the insinuation that your friends and family, your text messages with friends and family are going to be read is not true. Now, of course, they're being read probably by the NSA or somebody. They would never unmask anyone unless you're Tucker Carlson. But, that's just normal monitoring, right? So anyway, it's not like, Joe Biden is sitting there thumbing through text messages saying, "Oh, there's a selfie." That's not how it's working. So we said that on the air, but the lead up to that, the get you through the break, if you will, the tease was, is the Biden administration, reading your text messages? And I could see why a listener thought that was blatantly political. Why would you, and I was thinking, how could I have done that better? How could I have done that better so I'm not alienating half the audience in a tease? That's a stupid thing to do if you're on the radio, right? So, what is the U.S. government trying to read your text messages between your friends and family? We'll tell you coming back next, because that's really true for all of us, right? Regardless of if you're a Joe Biden supporter or if you're a Trump supporter or whatever, at some point, someone's going to be in charge of this government that you don't like, right? At some point, someone's going to be in charge that you might think is a real evil dude. Do you want them to have the ability to read your text messages? To have the ability to do it? No. There's no reason for that. "Oh, I don't have anything to hide." That's great. You probably don't. And most people probably don't. But most people also don't share their text messages with everybody on the internet openly for a reason. Most people keep their Facebook privacy locked down for a reason. Not because they have anything to hide, but because they have an expectation of privacy. You have no business knowing what I'm texting to my wife. You have no business knowing what my children text to me. Isn't that, see, I almost did it again. People and their children, their text messages and their laptops that left at computer stores. But anyway, I'm not going to go there. So here's the thing. I'm going to try to do a show that is inclusive, that everyone can enjoy, but I'm still going to speak truth about things, because it's wrong to expect someone to give you their productivity for free. What is money? Money is a store of time, right? And we all have a finite amount of time. I have a family member in the hospital with heart failure right now. Literally, he felt like he was going to pass out, so he said we should go to the ER. They went to the ER, and he coded on the table in the ER. If he would not have been on the table in the ER, he would be dead right now. We have a finite amount of time. Some people choose to spend that time playing video games. Some people choose to spend that time pursuing other enjoyments in life. Some people choose to spend that time farming. Some people choose to spend that time doing radio shows. And the expectation is when we do these things, we can bank, we can take our excess productivity or the desire for people to watch our stuff and extract a value from that and bank that in some kind of a storage device called money that we can then use later to buy the things that we want that we can't produce ourselves. I am not a farmer. My wife has a giant bountiful bowl of Roma tomatoes. I'm like, did all those come out of your garden? You have like 2 tomato plants. She's like, yeah, they did. Isn't it great? If I planted that, nothing. Wouldn't have had nothing. Nothing. It'd have been bad. They're dead. I'm not a farmer. I don't grow my food. I'm not a rancher. I love cheeseburgers, but I don't like raising cows. Okay? But there's people that do that, and they enjoy it. They enjoy that lifestyle. They love it. And I love them because I get cheeseburgers that I buy with my money. Do I have a right to demand that rancher give me my cheeseburger? No, that's wrong. It's wrong to steal somebody's life from them. Bill pays get done. If the internet goes, you can see your internet goes down, direct deposits don't get made. If the internet goes down, the Bitcoin network stops. Oh, no, it doesn't. Bitcoin doesn't require an internet connection to run. Not everywhere. The network marches on as long as there's an internet connection somewhere. So that's pretty, everyone's like, without an internet, you lose all your Bitcoin. No, you don't. Your Bitcoin stays in your wallet. And if the internet's interrupted worldwide, guess what happens when it comes back online? Because the internet was interrupted worldwide, no transactions could happen. Because no transactions could happen, the network didn't change. So when it comes back online, the network is still there. It's a beautiful thing.
Speaking of Bitcoin price rally, let's see what it's up to right now. I mean, we were getting close to 34,000, which it hasn't touched in like almost a month, I think. So that's a really good price rally. Whoa, 34,165, up 1% today. It was up like 3% yesterday. Why is it coming back? I'm not going to say I'm Thorstradamus here or anything, but I called this like 2 or 3 weeks ago. The Bitcoin network was losing miners. And that's always an indication of a weakening security situation, which is a depression on the price. It's negative. Well, the reason that they were losing miners is because China outlawed mining. So all those miners were shipping their mining equipment to other countries like Kazakhstan, all the former Soviet republics. Iceland got a lot of it, a lot of cold air in Iceland, right? The U.S. actually, Maine, the East Coast got a lot of mining machines. A lot of them are being sold on Alibaba right now. You can pick up a really cheap miner if you want to, relatively cheap anyway, on Alibaba right now. So all the equipment was getting sold and moved and everything else. And the reason for that is because China outlawed it. Well, now that equipment is starting to come back online. Right now we're at about a 2% increase in difficulty is what the next adjustment's going to be. It'll probably be closer to 5 or 10% by the time the adjustment happens in about 9 days. So we're going to see the price continue to rally here, guys. I'm not going to say it's going to go back to 60 right away here. We're going to have a rally. There's going to be another dip. Then there's going to be a rally and another dip. It's definitely going to be a roller coaster on the way up. So just hold. Don't try to trade it. It's super volatile. Maybe you're a better trader than me. Maybe you should trade it. I'm not telling you what to do with your money. But if you're an emotional person like me sometimes and you get scared that this is all the Bitcoin I have and I don't want to lose it, oh, I better jump back in, and then you get taken. So if you're that guy like me, just hold. Don't trade it. If it goes down, you're like, the value went down. But guess what? I still got the same amount of Bitcoin. And if it goes up, it went up, but I still got the same amount of Bitcoin. I was looking at the price trends, guys, and I'm saying there is a shot. No, again, this is price prediction, and this is long-term prediction, that by 2025, you could be at $1 million a coin. So if you can get yourself half a Bitcoin between now and 2025, you're 500 grand. Yeah, that's significant. I don't know what inflation's going to do between now and then. It might be the same as $50 then. I don't know, but fun stuff. All right. Stay on the political soapbox. You like hearing different opinions. Well, that's true. And like I told this listener, and she was a really good listener. It wasn't like she wasn't like a super liberal Democrat or anything. She was just a regular person that, if she wants politics, she's going to tune into a politics show. But she was tuning into our show because it was technology. So in the After Schrock, that's where that kind of stuff belongs, not in the main program. And so that's one of the things you're going to hear. You're going to hear the main program get a little more toned down from the political side. I'm not going to be as teasing with the leads and the stories and stuff. We'll still do it. We'll still get the message across about why you should use Signal, for example, which is the #1 best encrypted text messaging service on the planet. Why every Android device should have Signal as its default. Samsung SMS is also encrypted by default, but just between Samsung users. Apple iMessage encrypted by default, but just among Apple users. So if an Apple user running encrypted iMessage texts a Samsung user running encrypted Samsung message, it goes in the clear. There's no encryption. When you're using Signal, it doesn't matter what device you're on. If you're texting somebody who is using Signal, it's encrypted. If that person's not using Signal, you can just tap a button to send them a, hey, let's go to Signal. And they can install it on their phone and use it. It's just great. It is an amazing text message service for something that's free. They are a 501c3, so I do try to donate like $25 a year. It's not much. I'm probably getting more value than that out of it, so I feel like I'm getting a good deal. But they provide me with a great service of keeping my important company messages encrypted and free from intercept. So that's pretty cool stuff. All righty. Let's see. May I suggest referring to the Des Moines Service Center as the youngest Schrock? Baby Schrock sounds too much like Baby Shark. That's why I say it that way. I have littles at home, and they watch Baby Shark sometimes, and so it's Baby Schrock. Yeah. So it's the youngest Schrock, but it's soon. In August it'll be a year old. Can you guys believe that? In like 6 days, it's going to be a year old. We had the grand opening in August of last year. We can put Baby Sharks on the walls, little Schrock logos with little mouths on them. There we go. It's getting stupid now. All right. My computer says Windows 10 Home installed on 2.6.21. Do you have the latest version? Okay. Underneath where it says Windows 10 Home installed, it's going to say the version number you have. And let me look at mine here real quick to tell you exactly what that's going to look like. If you're on the About page, it'll say Windows 10. Underneath that, it'll say version, whatever the version is, and underneath that, it'll have the installation date. That version number that's in between the two things you gave me are what you're looking for. The version number should say 21H1. If it says anything other than that, you need an update. Let's see. 400 footnotes in their own words. How Marxists have infiltrated America and are about to change our country. You know, Richard, I have not read Levin's book about Marxism. You know, I kind of feel like once you got the general gist of the idea that, you know, there are some people. There's going to be like what, 3 groups of people in the world. There's going to be people who are engaged mentally and politically that are going to have an opinion one way or another. There's people who are completely oblivious and are going to remain completely oblivious because, you know, what beer they're going to drink that night, or, you know, who their girlfriend's going to be next week, or who their boyfriend's going to be is more important to them than anything in the world. And then you have the third group of people that are the persuadables. They're a very slim margin, though, right? So that's who Mark Levin's book is targeted toward, is people who are persuadable. You know, I guess every time communism has been tried, and every iteration it has been tried, it has failed. And maybe that's because they just haven't got it right yet, and just need more money, just a little more of other people's money to make it work. We have the Fed is like a magical money fountain, right? We could just use the Fed and we can make socialism work for everybody. You know, my wife and I are gonna get these stupid checks now for having 3 children. They're gonna send us monthly checks, which I'm sure for some households are great, but what people aren't gonna realize is at the end of the year, your tax return is going to be smaller because you're getting an advance on your tax return. For people like me who don't get tax returns because we pay taxes, that's a real problem. Because we just have to take that money and bank it. Because you're literally, the government's giving us a loan of our own money back before they take it away again. So I guess that's better than not having it at all or whatever, but it complicates the tax picture immensely. And honestly, the only reason for doing that is because it gets people used to the idea of receiving a government check every month. And whether the government check comes from universal income or whether the government check is just an advance on your tax return, does it really matter? It's still a government check every month. And people are going to get used to it. And the only thing you have to do to have that government check is to have babies, which our birth rate's pretty low right now. So, you know, maybe that's not a bad thing, I guess, encouraging people to have babies. But, you know, taking care of the babies, that's what the checks are supposed to be for. Somehow I don't think that people who have babies to get bigger checks are going to be taking care of the babies so well. You know what I mean? So anyway, yeah. Oh golly, yeah. 2004 means you're at version April of 2020. So you are 3 versions behind. You are no longer receiving security updates from Microsoft. So it's very important that you get that up to 21H1 as soon as you can. Alrighty. Maybe freezing is due to the Facebook Nazis. Nope, it's nothing to do with the content. It's straight up the internet connection, because when I was on the KFAB connection, both computers were dropping at the same time and coming back up. Now this computer is dropping and this one is not. So, because one of them's on my cell phone. All right, I like the techie part of the radio program. The Aftershock is where the fun begins. Yeah. Okay. Amazon, how many people don't realize they might owe money when they file their tax return? Yeah. Or amazing, not Amazon. Sorry. Amazing how many people might not realize that. Yeah. So imagine somebody who's counting on that tax return now for something, and then they realize they've already got half of it throughout the year and blown it on, you know, whatever. Maybe they've blown it on kids' clothes for back to school, you know, but they've already blown it. It's gone. And now, or more likely, they've already bought Bitcoin with it, you know, whatever. All right, so I have an important thing to talk to you guys about real quick before we wrap this up today. And of course, when I say real quick, it will not be quick, and it's going to be very complicated. But it's very interesting, I think, and I want your opinion on it, because you are the audience that I'm aiming for with this, are our existing Schrock customers, our super fans, if you will. We have a real problem with inflation. Price inflation on our computers. Our margins are cut to under $100 on a computer now. So if we sell you a computer for $700, we're making less than $100 on it. That dog doesn't hunt very long. So yesterday, for example, we had a pretty slow day in the shops. Like I said, this is the slowdown period. We sold 2 computers yesterday, and we had a smattering of repair work. That was all we had on the day. So over 3/4 of our revenue yesterday came from selling 2 computers, which we made about $150 on total. So yeah, it's not very sustainable, right? Now, of course, there's upsells and additional things you can add on that are more profitable, but why are we selling computers if we can't make money selling computers? The answer is the cost of our processors, guys, is up 300%. A processor that used to cost me $99 for the Endeavor computer, or $89.99, is now $200. It's ridiculous. Or $250 if I want the Venture. If I want the Ryzen 5000 series chip, I can pay as much as $499 for that chip now. That normally retails for $150. They're just in such shortage, you can't find them anywhere. And so you're having to buy them at whatever price you have to buy them at when you need to build them. So obviously, at some point, inflation has to be passed on. Companies can't absorb it forever. I'm worried that if we raise the price of our computers by $200, they might seem a little high compared to what you're seeing in the Dell catalog, which of course they're raising theirs too, but they had larger margins to begin with, so they're not as impacted. So our game plan up to this point was to not raise our prices in an effort to grab market share as Dell and HP and others raise their prices, even modestly. They'll be basically equal with ours. And at that point, why wouldn't you get a modular computer or a solid state laptop? It makes sense. So I revisited an idea that we had in 2018. My wife hates it. The lovely Kimberly does not like this idea, and I know that, but I think this is the future for where we're going to need to go as a company and where computers are going to go as hardware. At some point, someday, you're not going to buy a computer anymore. You're just going to own a computer. You're not going to own it. You're going to use it. You're going to rent it, basically. I got to come up with a better word for this because it's not leasing and it's not renting, and I can never think of a word. We need to make up a word for it. Like it's the Boeing system or something. I don't know. B-O-N. No, we can't do B-O-N-G. That doesn't say Boeing. You drop the vowels out. B-N-G. I don't know. Anyway, I can't get that URL. It's 3 letters. But here's the idea. You want a new computer. So you come into Schrock to get a new computer. And instead of plunking down your $700 on the table, we have a great deal for you where you put 20% down. So that'd be $140 of the $700. That's a deposit. It's a refundable deposit. You get that back at the end of the term. And then you get an Endeavor for 36 months. And you can get anything you want with it. The monitor, the keyboard, the mouse, the printer. You can get the whole Anchorito. And it's it's basically 20% down. So whatever the cost of the computer is, 20% of that. And then your payments are 5% of the purchase price per month. And you never own the hardware, so you're never responsible for the hardware. See where I'm going with this? So if it breaks, we fix it for free. You are responsible for upkeep, just like you would on a lease. So you should get the maintenance work done if you don't want downtime. If something's broken, it's in your best interest that we find it because we're going to fix it for free. You do got to keep your security status up to date, so you're still going to want to have your security subscriptions and stuff like that. But the cost of the computer itself, the cost of the technology itself, is just that monthly price, which on an Endeavor, I believe, was around $35 a month. So $35 a month is the computer for 36 months. And of course, if you do the math on that, you're like, well, Thor, that's more than $700. But with that, because we're covering it under warranty the entire time, you don't have to buy the extended warranties, which is going to save you a few $100s there. We figured it out at $220 or $225 is what you would save, assuming that you'd use the warranty one time in a 3-year period. So you'd buy it once, you'd use that, and then you'd replace it. So that's $100 initially and $125. So we valued the warranty at $225 in the equation. But because you're under that warranty, you also have unlimited access to the Schrock desk for that computer at all times. That's a $30 monthly value at 36 months. So when you add up the value of what you're getting, of course not counting any repairs you might get, you're actually saving $500 over a 3-year period. And that's not counting any of the savings on upkeep or anything else that you're gonna run up against. But you're saving like $500 over a 3-year period. We actually make the same amount we used to make on the computer before there was all the inflation in computer parts, right? So we're making the same amount of money, so we're happy with that. We just have to wait a little bit longer for it. We have to wait 36 months to get it. But at the end of the lease term, you have a decision to make, or lease, rent, whatever it is. It's kind of like a lease because there's a term and it ends. At 36 months, you decide, do I want to keep the computer and just keep using it? You just keep paying $35 a month then, and everything just keeps marching on like always on a month to month. Or you can come in and turn the computer into us and get a brand new current generation modular system to replace it. And it's just the monthly payment. We refund your deposit, you put down a new deposit, maybe you don't need a new monitor, new keyboard, new mouse and all that this time. Your deposit's less then. We refund the old deposit, you put down the new deposit, we calculate the new monthly amounts, we set up a 36-month term, and you've got a brand new computer and you're good to go for another 36 months. Same thing with laptops. So that's the idea, and I want to know what you guys think of it. Because it's one of those weird Goldilocks situations where you actually save money in the long term. Even if you assume a very light maintenance schedule, you save money in the long term. We're debating whether we give you a free maintenance checkup in with that too, because we really want you to take care of the hardware because it's our hardware. We get it back. So we want to keep it in good condition so that we can resell it. How we do that? Do we start up like a Schrock certified refurbished program? Do we just sell the hardware on eBay or something and be done with it? There's a lot of different ways we can go about that. Do we, there's another computer repair shop in Lincoln that wants us to buy them. Maybe we go back and look at having another company that sells used computers that's not Schrock. But if it's our hardware, maybe we sell the used hardware. We warranty it for a year, just like the regular hardware. I don't know. So the plan here is, the big risk in this whole thing is some of the computers are going to walk away. Some people are going to steal the computer, right? They're just going to put down a 20% deposit. They're going to build a great big wonderful computer, and then they're never going to make another payment, and they're just going to disappear. So there's got to be a contract. The contract has to be like, toothy, so that we can sell it to a collection attorney, because we're not in the collection business. So we would just sell it to a collection attorney, get our money back, that we're made whole again, like it never even happened, and then they can deal with collecting the money from the person. So we got to make the contract attractive enough to do that. So as long as you pay your bills, everything goes on and is fine. And of course, if a customer is late, we always work with people. If your credit card gets compromised, you get a new card and your payment doesn't go through, we'll send you reminders like, hey, via email, your card needs to be re-entered, that kind of stuff. But the idea here is you don't have any more unexpected computer repairs. You have a better ownership experience because you have higher quality hardware. You have new hardware every 36 months. You're never obsolete because you could just come in and get a new computer every 3 years. And it doesn't cost you $700 a year to do it. Or $700 every 3 years to do it. Also, the price difference between the Boundless, the entry-level desktop, and the Endeavor, the mid-range, it's like $5 a month. You want to go to the Venture, it's like another $5 a month. So then we get into it's $40 a month to have a computer that's 3 times more powerful. Are you sure you don't want to do that? So you can see where this is going, guys. I mean, this could be something really, really spectacular for our customers. It could be really spectacular for our margins and our business. That kind of gives us if the inflation is in fact transitory, then prices should come back down. If it's not, we've been dealing with inflated prices for 6 months now. It doesn't seem to be very transitory to us. We're questioning why we're selling computers right now. That's serious. So what do you guys think of this idea? Would you be inclined, because if we release this, the first phase is we're only going to make it available to people who are currently Schrock customers. So if you're not currently a Schrock customer, you can't just come in and sign up for it. We'll create a waiting list for people who want to, but you have to have purchased something in the past from us to be a Schrock customer. And then we'll say, hey, there's a level of trust here because we know you. You're already a customer of ours. So we want to make sure that you get, treated well. So if you want in on this, and the first time we're going to do 50 computers to test this out as a test market. So it's going to be something small, something testy that goes on for like 6 months. And if we're doing okay and the payments are coming in and there's no unexpected glitches or hiccups, then we'll expand it and widen it out to more and more people. But I want to know your thoughts on this. Would you lease, rent, lent, I don't know, a computer? Would you prefer to do that rather than purchasing the hardware and owning it and then being responsible for everything on it? We try to make that easy for you too, but you're still responsible for everything. Whereas with the first option, you've got Schrock on obligation to help you whenever there's a problem because you're a Schrock Desk subscriber, and if your computer's not working, you're not going to want to pay the monthly bill, right? So yeah, we want to keep your computer working, so you pay the $35 a month or whatever. So there's a vested interest for everybody. Everybody gets their production valued, and everybody has their right to a computer satisfied, right? So anyway, let me know your thoughts over here in comments. I'll take a look and see what we've got going on here. Alrighty, let's see. Heard about Amazon Sidewalk. Is that really Wi-Fi sharing thing they do through Ring? Yes, it is, actually. And you are automatically opted into it, not just on Ring, but with all of your Amazon Alexa devices as well. You can opt out of it by logging into the Alexa app on your smartphone or tablet and going into the settings and the privacy and turning it off. But you have to do that through the Alexa app. There is no other way to do it. After I pay rent and bills, I'm going to see if I have enough left over to get my dead MacBook fixed. Cool. It's kind of like checking out a library book. What are the key differences from a lease if you say it's not the same? Well, in a lease, you get some ownership, right? So you're paying, when you lease a car, you're paying a monthly payment based on how much of the value of the vehicle you're expected to consume while you use it. And because when you purchase a new vehicle, 50% of the value falls off of it, like when you drive it off the lot, you're paying for that up front. With this deal, you're not actually buying any ownership in the computer. The computer always is Schrock's property. That's why we have an interest in taking care of it. But you're kind of renting it. The next comment is like Ace Rent-A-Center. And that's exactly why the lovely Kimberly hates it. We are not Ace Rent-A-Center, she says. We don't do that. That's not our demographic. That's not our customer base. This is going to be a problem because we're going to knock the value of our brand, is her position. And that's a risk, right? So we have to make sure that it's not, I've never rented from Ace Rent-A-Center before, so I don't know how it works, but hopefully our level of service is greater. Like, I guess if you rent, maybe I should go rent a TV for the next Super Bowl or something, and, just to see what the process is like. Maybe it is exactly like Ace Rent-A-Center. I don't know. But it's similar to that, yes. Yeah, I'm hearing Ronald says he's heard that the chips are going to be slow in production until 2023. I'm hearing the same thing, and if that's the case, we got a real problem on our hands because Windows 11 is not compatible with so many older chips that this fall we're going to see serious microchip pressure. The other thing that this allows me to do at Schrock is if I know I'm building 50 Endeavors, for example, I can order 50 chips, and the prices aren't much better, but they might be 10% better if I can order 50 at a time rather than 10 at a time. So it helps me out if I'm building a bunch of computers because I expect them to go for $35 a month. All right, let's see here. You can put some locator on the computer, and when they walk off with the computer, you can flick a switch and brick it. We talked about that. We can create a piece of software that runs in the background. This gets super Bezos-y real quick, though. So now, what employees at Schrock are allowed to know the location of your laptop at all times? Are we allowed to access your camera to help determine your location? Yeah, see, now it just got creepy. I don't think I want that capability. I don't want anyone in my company to ever be accused of using that capability. That's why we went with the onerous contract. So let me give you what an onerous contract looks like. Onerous contract. If you pay, everybody loves everybody, and it's okay. If you don't pay, well, you've stolen a computer from Schrock, right? So that computer was a $700 computer. So now you owe us $700. But you've also stolen from us 3 years of payments because we're supposed to get that computer back at the end, you see. So now you've stolen 3 years of payments. So you need to pay us all of that money on top of the $700. Plus there's an administration or attorney fee or whatever else, a collection fee in there. So let's call it a $1,500, $1,600 contract when we're done, right? You paid 20% down, so your 140 comes off the top. Now we're at a 1460. You made your first payment when you picked it up, so that was $35. So now we're at what, 1425. Okay, and we need to get back, $500 to be even on the computer after we take your deposit and everything else. So we go to an attorney and we say, we'll sell you this $1,400 contract for $500. We have a social security number and a copy of a driver's license for you to collect on it. Should be pretty easy to file a suit. They won't show up to court. You'll get a default judgment, and then you can go garnish a bank account. Most collection attorneys would take that in a heartbeat. So we got to make it valuable enough that an attorney would take it where they can make about $1,000 a contract at least. So that's what the contract looks like if you don't pay. Now, of course, there are going to be situations where, I could see this being valuable to somebody who is, let's say, later on in their years. They want to have a new computer because they're enjoying life right now, but maybe they're like 95, and they're like, I don't think I need the 3-year extended warranty, Thor, if you know what I mean. That person may jump on the month-to-month thing, and if they die, We're not going to sue their estate. I mean, come on. Their family will probably return the computer back to us when we ask. And it'll be fine. If we don't get the computer back, the person's dead. There's more important things in the world. So anyway, there are exceptions to this, or if there's a family situation where somebody just had a terrible thing, their house burned down or something, and the computer is gone. Well, yeah, then at that point, we have insurance for that. So there are things that we might be able to insure for losses. So there's some variables here. I really want to stay away from credit checks if I can, because it's really uncomfortable. Because number one, you're going to have some customers who just don't pass muster. So what are we going to do with those people? Are we just going to increase the deposit? So now you have to make a 60% deposit. Well, you may as well just buy the computer at that point, right? So we're still got some details to figure out on that end. All right, let's see. Think outside the box like that, and you're going to make it in the long run. Well, I mean, we've been around for 21 years because we keep doing things different than other people. But this is scary because this requires us to drop about $200,000 on hardware to buy and build the hardware. Because you got to think, let's say we're going to do 50 computers, okay? That means we're going to build 50 machines. Now, I don't know what people are going to want to buy, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the cheap one, right? For $5 more a month, you're going to get the 8 gigs of RAM, twice as large hard drive, twice as fast processor. You're going to get the nice stuff, right? Or the nicer stuff. I'm not saying you're going to go Cadillac here, but you're going to get the Kia, okay? You're not going to go full on Hyundai. So basically, then you've got the Endeavor at $700. You add a monitor to it, you add a keyboard and mouse to it, maybe you pick up a printer. Maybe you decide 16 gigs of RAM, or you make the hard drive a little bigger, and then you're good to go, right? So I think that this could be positive for our sales numbers, because I think people will not choose the cheaper computers if they can get into the more expensive ones for just a little bit more, which in the long run, again, you're going to pay about as much as you would in the long run if you get a Venture as you would have paid if you just bought the Endeavor up front. You're going to save a bunch of money. You're going to have a better ownership experience. So the idea is we still have the service element. So in the mathematical equation, if you take the Schrock Desk element out, if you don't care about our service, if you're just looking product for product, dollar for dollar, it does not make sense to buy this, because it's going to cost you more if you take the Schrock Desk part out over a 3-year period than just buying the hardware up front and then paying for service as you need it. The problem is no one ever knows how much service they need. So this is an ideal situation for somebody who knows they want access to help, they want that safety net, who knows that they don't want to have to deal with buying Safe Upgrade every 6 months. They just want their computer to automatically install it. And if something goes wrong, they don't care. They'll just call us and we fix it. If it won't install it, they call the Schrock Desk and say, hey, it won't install. And the Schrock Desk installs it for them. That's just how life goes when you have a Schrock Desk subscription. A lot of people don't realize that. You own us when you have a Schrock Desk subscription for $30 a month, okay? But if you don't care about that, then it doesn't make sense to do this. I'm going to be real clear about that. That is the get it factor, is the service. If you don't care about our service, well, then we don't really want you in the rental program anyway, or whatever we're going to call it, because we want our Schrock family in that program. We want to take care of our people. And if that's not something that's valuable to you, then just we would love to have your businesses buy the computer and then use it that way. And we'll remind you when it's time for maintenance and everything like that. Gene says at $35 a month, it would be interesting. Okay, or interested. Okay, that's less than my cell phone payment. Well, that's less than a lot of people's cell phone payments. Cell phone payments are kind of nuts. Call it lend lease. I actually thought about that. Yeah, but that implies that I'm lending computers to distressed computer owners that are at risk of fascist domination. We don't go that far, right? But no, we got to come up with a name for it, and that's always been a bugaboo for me. But the big risk here that we haven't done this in the past is, if this program is available, it's going to take at least half of our computer sales away. And if you take half of our computer sales away, you take the profitability away that keeps Schrock running. Guess what's happened in the last 6 months? Inflation has taken away the profitability that keeps our new computer division operating. So they're operating in a deficit right now, which we can maintain for quite a while, but not indefinitely. So if it's as transitory, we'll hold on and everything will be fine. If it's not, we either need to raise the prices or we need to do something different. Now, how long can we hang on? A few years. If we were going to operate in a deficit, we could operate for years in a deficit. How long does it take for us to break even from a hardware perspective on these contracts? 16 months. At 16 months, we're break even on the hardware cost. That's not the service cost or anything. That's just the hardware cost. We're break even in 16 months. So yeah, a little over a year and a half. Well, if it's not transitory, we'll be really glad we started this in a year and a half, right? All right, people pay more for a phone plan. Seems like a good deal. Have to see the fine print, but yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. The fine print is where the devil's always in the details. So we got to have a contract that's like, if you don't pay the bill, the wrath of God himself is going to fall on your head. So please pay the bill. And we have to be a little careful at Schrock that we are starting this program off with customers who we believe are going to pay the bill. If they are, of course, able to. If something goes wrong in your life, these are our super customers. We're going to take care of you. But we want those people in the program first so we can see what that looks like and build a good, strong base for the program. Then as that strong base evolves, we can open up the program to other people outside of Schrock, because we full well know that if we just make this open to the general public, we are going to have all kinds of people who would have never set foot into a Schrock service center before coming in to buy a computer, take it home, and sell it on Craigslist. We know that's going to happen, and we can't have that. So there's got to be some point where we open it up a little bit, but that's like a tomorrow problem. That's probably when we're going to have to implement some kind of credit check procedure or something like that to say basically there's a cutoff where, sorry, we can't do this for you. And even then, we're still going to have some computers walk away, so that's built into the ROI as well. Not sure if I'd like with genealogy software. Well, actually, with your genealogy software has two problems. Problem one is you buy a program to do genealogy, and you use that program for years and years and years on your computer. Then you get a new computer, and the program that you bought doesn't exist anymore, and all your stuff is in a format you can't get out of that program. So that's problem one. Problem two is they're really reliable, like Ancestry or something. They make a new program every year, but they're not backward compatible. You have to buy the new, or they are backward compatible. They're not forward compatible. So you can't take your, Ancestry 2009 program and install it on Windows 11. You have to buy the Windows 11 version and install it. So you got to buy a new one every time. So yes, that's one of the things. But here's the thing. You can just keep the computer, right? So here's the thing. Most of our modular computers have an expected lifespan of 4 to 6 years, somewhere in that neighborhood. 6 years is usually the limit where it starts to become more cost effective to replace it than repair it at that point. So if you can keep the same computer for 6 years and just pay $35 a month for it and have all the service provided, don't have to worry about repairs or maintenance, it's under warranty the whole time, you're going to use that warranty several times in that period of time. It's a good deal. So yeah, you could continue to use that with your genealogy program forever. Now the only trick here is if you switch programs, like with your genealogy thing, is there's a data transfer that you probably want to get your stuff from the old computer to the new computer. It's not a feature that came with the old computer. It's not a feature that comes with the new computer. It's an add-on that's purchased separately. So there is a cost involved with transitioning from one computer to another if you want us to do the data transfer. But there is no barrier to entry. And the only barrier to exit is you'd have to buy a computer if you ever quit using the program. You'd have to fork out money for a computer. But literally, it's great because then we have a constant flow of used hardware parts coming in that we can use for warranty, repair, and maintenance. That's how we keep everybody else's computer running. Basically, so when I say everybody else, like once this program cycles through, once it's in for 2 years and we're into year 3 and 4, we're going to have people coming in with problems with hardware that's failed, but we're also going to have people handing in computers that were built with the same parts to get new computers. So we're going to have a supply of parts. We're going to have our own ecosystem of parts. We're not dependent on the supply chain anymore. So we don't have to rely on China to build our replacement parts anymore because we get them. And because we warranty them fully, if we put a part in your computer that came out of a different computer, that's not a moral problem because we're warranting it. If it fails, we'll fix it again, and of course we're going to test it thoroughly. Now, what we do with the laptops, that's a little more difficult because laptops are all one board, right? So maybe we sell those. We don't really know what we're going to do with them when we get those back because they're going to be beat to heck always. It's not like there's like new parts with those things that you can do anything with. Let's see. Not sure if I'd like genealogy software. Let's get some likes here so I make sure I know what I'm liking. All right, I'm not a paying customer of Schrock yet, but I might try it. Yeah, there you go, Aaron. So all you got to do is come in for a maintenance check or something, and then you're a paying customer. Yay! Come in and use the free hour of labor for your MacBook. Now you're a customer. You see how that works? Would you have a kill switch if someone doesn't pay? What would the ramifications be if someone chose not to use Sophos? And that great question. So we were trying to decide: do we include Sophos with the subscription, or do we allow customers to choose their own antivirus? I'm a big believer in letting people choose what they want to do with their own money, right? So if you want to run McAfee or Malwarebytes or something else, Panda, I don't care, Trend Micro, go ahead and run it. We're going to handle Sophos subscriptions exactly the same as always. So if you protect a device with Sophos, because at first we thought, well, if you want to buy the computer, you're signing up for a 3-year term. So if you buy Sophos with the computer to protect it, do you pay $160 for Sophos plus 2 renewals at $70 a piece up front in the calculation of the price? It was causing that payment to really balloon out, and it was forcing people to kind of make that decision. I didn't like that. So we said, let's keep the Sophos subscription separate so that you can choose to have the computer under one subscription, and if you want Sophos, you can do that under a separate subscription. But if you want to leave and stop using Sophos maybe halfway through or something, of course I wouldn't recommend that. We have very high retention rates on Sophos. Let me tell you, when you see what it's doing to protect you, it's amazing. You stay with it. But if you don't want it, you don't have to buy it. Now, what does that do with regard to the Schrock desk? Okay, so on the Schrock desk, if you got infected with what you thought was an infection, there are 2 potential scenarios here. Number 1, on the Schrock desk, if we can remotely access your computer and fix it, we would do that for free, right? So we would remove a virus. If it was popping up on your screen, we would remove it for free over the Schrock desk. Sometimes viruses prevent remote software from connecting, like the Schrock desk. So we wouldn't be able to remote in, which would mean you'd have to come into the service center for a repair, which means then your Schrock desk subscribers get all in-shop services that are labor services at half price. So you would have to pay for the virus removal at that point, but you would be paying half price for it. Scenario 2, you get hit with ransomware. We can remove the ransomware infection for free for you, but we can't decrypt your programs and your files and everything. It's just all lost. Even your backups, it's just lost. And there's nothing we can do about that. We can restore the computer back to the way it was the day you bought it. And that's the extent of what we can do with somebody who gets hit with ransomware, unless they're willing to pay the ransom, which some people do. So, long story short there, get Sophos because it keeps you safe from that. And then, of course, when you buy Sophos from Schrock, it comes with a virus-free guarantee. So in that scenario, if you have Sophos, even if you get hit with a virus that you have to bring it into the service center, you don't get charged anything because it falls under the Sophos part of the warranty, right? So the best scenario is to have both subscriptions, but you have the freedom to choose what you want to do for your own antivirus. We're not going to force you into doing Secure Updater or Sophos or even Drive Advisor. Of course, we would recommend all 3 because they're for your security and the protection of your data and your hardware detecting that failure. We'd really recommend you have Drive Advisor up front, like super recommend it. But I'm digressing here. Let's see. Kill switch, we thought about the briquette switch, things like that. We thought about it. Anybody who knows anything about computers is going to take that computer apart for parts anyway and sell the parts. So you wipe the hard drive, you got rid of the kill switch. So if you know anything about computers, you'll be able to work your way around this pretty easily, right? Yeah. So we thought about it, and maybe we would at some point have some kind of a kill switch. But what's that kill switch going to do? Log you out? Prevent you from accessing the computer? That'd probably be the only thing. Is that technically malware? Yeah. Would it potentially be detected as a virus by Sophos? Rightfully so? Yeah. So there's a catch-22. Are we in the virus-making business now? So it gets real sticky. It gets real sticky. That's why we really wanted to target our best customers first with this. You can give them a buyout option at the end. That way you don't have to resell. It would take a ton of cash up front. Well, that's the thing. Okay, so what's the buyout then? At the end of 3 years, if you wanted to keep using the computer rather than making payments, from Schrock's perspective, we're losing a $35 a month pure profit subscription. And if you chose to move to a new computer, we're losing a contract that's going to lock a customer in for 3 years with Schrock. So it's in our best interest to actually not offer a buyout option. And honestly, I am really, really, really not a fan of selling used computers. It never ends well. It always ends in tears, gnashing of teeth, and the feeling that you got ripped off. Every single time. Because I paid good money to buy this computer out, and it didn't last 6 months after that. Well, on buyout computers, are we going to warranty them for a year after that? We know they're going to fail. 4 to 6 years is the expected lifespan. We know after 3 years, it's time to go. You're on borrowed time. You should keep that Schrock warranty going. So by the time you buy the computer out and you add the $100 warranty to it, you're pretty much at the cost of buying a new computer. So it doesn't make much sense, right? So I don't know what the buyout would be, especially considering that once we part these things out, assuming that the chip shortage lasts until 2023, selling the processor alone from your computer on the used market would get us half the cost back that would the entire computer build. So I mean, it doesn't make sense for us to offer a buyout option, and I'm not sure it makes sense for the customer to take it. Because remember, the whole reason you got in was so that you have a lower cost of ownership experience. It doesn't make sense that at the end of that, you would pay us more money to have a higher cost of ownership experience. It would average out to be the same at the end. You would just spend more money, and I'm not sure that would be a real good win. You might want to put a decal with your company and phone number. Yeah, we definitely would want to create some kind of all kinds of Schrockaganda would have to be created to make this flow and work right. You like that Schrockaganda? It's like propaganda, but it's from Schrock. If I was younger than my present 84 years, I'd jump on this idea. My Reliant is 15 months old and will be obsolete in 5 years. Well, there you go. But this is exactly a perfect thing. You know, somebody who might be a young pup, maybe they're only 80. You know, they might say, hey, this is a pretty good deal because, you know, it's month to month, basically, after I'm paid 3 years in. And I can quit any time if finances mean if I'm moving like my mom is right now and finances get tight, I can just end my subscription and be done, you know, and make another decision later on once things stabilize what I want to do. So it gives you a lot of options that you just don't have with a regular computer. At the end of the contract, I have stuff on the hard drive. I need to get it off. Okay, this is a good point, Gene. So standard operating procedure at Schrock. Whenever a customer recycles a computer with us, any computer, whether it's an 8086 from 1986 or it's, you know, one of our computers that was purchased 2 years ago, we always pull the hard drive and we label it with your name and a date, and we hold on to it for 14 days. Because inevitably, somebody always needs something off one of the drives that they recycled that they didn't know they needed. And then we can get it for you. At the end of 14 days, I mentioned earlier that it was kind of slow right now. You know what we're doing to fill the time right now? Wiping hard drives. The hard drives never leave our service center unless they have been programmatically wiped. And that's zeroed, sector for sector, so that nothing is recoverable from those drives. Then, once that's done, they go to Sadoff Recycling, who is a certified recycler who then shreds them or magnetically zeros them and puts them in the market for resale. So, as used devices. Depends on the capacity of the drive, basically. So basically, your data will never leave our service center. Now, if your concern is I have stuff on the hard drive that I need to get off of the drive, well, there's a couple ways. The thinking man would do that is the last month of your subscription, or the last day of your subscription, you make a Schrock desk call and say, hey, I need to know how to back up all my files to this external hard drive. Can you help me with that? And under the Schrock desk subscription, you get unlimited support. So absolutely, sir, we're here to serve you. And we would back up your whole hard drive for you for free. If you wanted the data transferred, though, from your old computer to your new computer, when I say transferred, what happens during a transfer is we transfer your favorites, your wallpapers, all of your settings. You know, so the computer works the same way as it did before when you get the new computer. That does have a cost for us to do a transfer from one computer to another computer, but if you just wanted us to back it up, if you were exiting the program, for example, and you wanted to get your stuff off the computer before you turned it in, I would use the Schrock desk to do that. I suppose a thinking man could also use the Schrock desk to have us back it up, and then when they get the new computer, if they're going to get a new one, they could say, okay, now restore it for me. And we could do that, but it would just be a file backup then. It wouldn't be all the settings and the wallpapers and the favorites and all that stuff that you would normally want to have backed up. So, again, we're a service company, and it's kind of against our nature to put barriers up that cause people angst, because that's not good service. So we want to make sure that you're confident in what you can trust us to erase your data before it's never going to leave the service center, number one. Number two, and that works both ways. I had a guy who was super upset, sent me an email. He'd left a computer in our shop for 6 months. I communicated with you every month. It's like, we're not a storage facility. We can't hold things for 6 months. We were really clear, like, we're going to hold it until this date. We sent an email as well that after this date, we're going to recycle it. Then we pulled the hard drive and kept it for 14 days after that, standard operating procedure, and then we zeroed the hard drive. And then 2 months later, we get a call like, hey, I'm ready to pick it up. Sorry, buddy, it's gone. And there's no getting it back. We wiped it. It's like dead, gone. And, he was really upset about that. And we're like, well, it is what it is, I guess. I'm sorry. We felt bad for the guy, of course, but, it's been 6 months, man. You wouldn't have your car fixed and leave it at the repair shop for 6 months and expect them not to, have it towed somewhere or impounded or something, All right. At the end of the contract, I have stuff. That's how I get it. Yep, we thought about that one. I would like the RAV4 model. Always good to have options for customers. Broaden sales pipeline. Innovation is key. Yeah, I agree 100%, Roy. My current cell phone payment is $39 a month. So, yeah, I mean, we tried to keep it at something that would be manageable for people on a fixed income, basically. Because think about how bad we're getting hit with inflation. Think about how bad they're getting hit with inflation right now. Because there is no inflation when it comes to your Social Security payments, right? Those don't get transitorily increased, do they? I don't get Social Security, so I don't know. There's a company in Plano, Texas that refurbs computers for corporations when they're finished for blind people who want to buy at reduced prices. Wonder if they could benefit. Yeah, I mean, there's always a market to sell refurbished computers, guys. They're sold by the pallet load at auction. That's where when you go into these other computer repair shops, like in Des Moines, almost every computer repair shop sells more refurbished computers than anything else. And we don't sell any. And they think we're just BS crazy. Because why wouldn't you? This is like a cash cow. And they wear out so fast, you could sell the same customer like 3 computers in 3 years. We're like, nah, we'd prefer to sell them one and keep them as a customer for the next 10 years, 20 years of their life. Thanks a lot. So anyway, it's just a difference in how we think. Interested in a laptop lease? It would give you a monthly income stream. Yeah, it would. Absolutely. The wrath of the lovely Kimberly. My phone's been buzzing. I think she's like, bad idea. I haven't looked yet, though. Before you end the show, any update news on Bitcoin? Yeah, so basically, I mentioned this earlier on that the Bitcoin, the network is starting, those miners that were moving from China to other places are starting to come back online. So we're starting to see the Bitcoin network gain some of its hash power back, which is always a bullish sign. So Bitcoin lost 60% of its processing power on the network when China went down. The price did not drop 60%. The price pretty much maintained a kind of a level 30,000-ish price point. This morning, like I said, when we started the program, it was at 34. It's at 34 still, 34,052, 1.06% up on the day. So I think this is going to continue to trend up to around the $40,000 mark, where we're going to see some more resistance, right? 40, 42, somewhere in there. Definitely, I think it's got a good shot at getting back to 60 by the end of the year, maybe as high as 80. Some people predict as high as 100. The stock-to-flow model says it should be around 100,000 by the end of the year. But the stock-to-flow model also says it should be at 80,000 right now. So that's why I said buying Bitcoin right now, you're not too late. You're buying it at an extreme discount right now. That's why ARK Investment and everybody else is buying tons of Bitcoin right now, because it's on sale. But of course, there's only so much Bitcoin a guy can buy before you're kind of risking your financial stability. So please don't do that. It is highly speculative, guys. These are predictions. They're not facts. Predictions are like belly buttons. Everybody's got one, right? All right, I have 3. Let's see. What about a pay an annual amount rather than monthly? I suppose we could annualize the subscription. The thought of having it monthly, though, number one, it's a cash flow thing for Schrock. Yes, it would be nice to have all that big chunk of change up front. In an annual subscription, people forget what they subscribe for. And you would think it's hard to believe that people will forget they're subscribed to a computer, but people forget their antivirus every year. And we get people who dispute secure updater renewals, automated secure updater renewals. They dispute them on their credit card. And they don't realize we charge $25 to renew your secure updater. We've never increased that price since like 2005, 6. We've never raised that. We are talking about raising that to $29, but that's a story for another time. When you dispute a credit card transaction, it costs the business $25 whether they win or lose. Just filing the dispute costs them $25. That's why most places don't make you sign a credit card receipt for anything under $25 because they know they're going to lose $25, so it doesn't really matter if you win or not. So they don't make you sign. Anything over $25, you always got to sign for that. But yeah, so it costs us as much to deal with a dispute than it does to do it. So if you ever see a subscription from Schrock that hits your account, please don't dispute it. Just call us because it costs us a ton of money to deal with the disputes. And on top of that, you know, if you didn't intend to renew it, we just give you a refund. We're not into taking money. You missed the day. You're screwed now. You got a whole other year of service, like it or not, baby. You know, we don't do that. We're going to give you a refund because that's the right thing to do. Hey, I have bought a new computer. I signed up for the 90 days of free Schrock Desk. 120 days in, I got billed. I didn't realize that. I didn't want to be billed for it. I didn't use it. It's completely reasonable. We're not going to charge you for that. Refund, $30. There you go. It's $30. Why would I blow up a customer for $25 or $30? That's stupid. So yeah, please ask us if you ever see that. Oh, let's see here. I like learning new things like the $25 credit card policy. Yeah, it's facts of life, guys. All right, I got to roll out, guys. My phone has been buzzing, and I'm kind of afraid to look at it because, like I said, we got a family member in the hospital, so I'll check that once I'm off the air here. But I got to wrap it up. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate the feedback on the Lend-Lease program, whatever we're going to do. You know, lending does sound kind of like a library book. You can check out our computers at SchrockInnovations.com. Woo! Don't forget to vote for us, guys, in the Best of Omaha. If you go to SchrockInnovations.com and do it through the Schrock website, you can actually get entered to win a free Schrock laptop that you have to make no monthly payments for. So go to SchrockInnovations.com, click on the graphic in the middle of the page, sign up, register to win. It's something you want to do. I think we have about 1,000 entries right now. Now, keep in mind, when you vote for Schrock, you get 5 entries, right? So you do the math on that. With 1,000 entries, your odds of winning the laptop are actually really, really good right now. So go to SchrockInnovations.com, enter to win. You can do extra things like review us on Google, or you can review us. You can like our page on Facebook. You can share our Facebook pages for extra entries. Those things will get you extra entries in the competition that increase your odds of winning. Have all of your family members enter. It's not a one per household deal. Anybody can enter as long as you're not a Schrock employee or you get money from Schrock. Like a contractor. You can't enter either, you contractors trying to always win stuff. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great afternoon and a great week. We'll see you again next Sunday for another edition of Compute This.